Evil Dies Tonight. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Primetime. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss, and tonight we are talking about the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy, in particular, Halloween Ends. We're doing a full spoiler talk on that, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Kerri. How's it going, guys?
Evil dies tonight.
Evil dies 4 years later.
Oh,
4 years later.
okay.
So close, so close. How's it going, guys?
Off for
Great.
4 years. Good.
Great.
How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I watched Halloween Ends either last night or 2 nights ago. I can't remember. Friday night. Friday night it was.
Or was it the other night? I think it was last night.
Yeah, I watched it like the day it aired on Peacock, so
Nice. Yeah.
like that night, so Friday.
No, it must have been Friday because I think we watched it at night. We didn't watch it during the day, and we were busy last night.
Well, either way, Hunter, introduce what we're talking about. So.
Yeah, so we are talking about David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy, as I said before, but we are focusing a lot more on Halloween Ends, which just came out this past Friday. So let's give our kind of overall thoughts on 2018's Halloween and Halloween Kills before we go into our full spoiler talk for Halloween Ends.
All right.
You guys can start if you want.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an interesting trilogy because after this was like the first one after the Rob Zombie mess that happened. And then people were waiting to see if something else would come out, and it feels like this franchise keeps getting rebooted or continued every 10 years or so. Some sort of like continuity spins up, and this project was up in the air for a while. It's kind of like a Freddy versus Jason a little bit, maybe not as for as long, but I remember like I read that they were pitching it to like Mike Flanagan and some of these other like high profile kind of like horror directors. And I remember Mike Flanagan was like, I don't want to do that. I can never ever come close to touching the 1978 version. So why would I even attempt to make a thing? However, David Gordon Green was up to the task for this time. And I thought what he did was interesting with 2018. Because he came at it from like a fan perspective. It's kind of like the guys who made Scream 2022, where it's like, coming at it from more of a fan kind of perspective. I think with that, you got a lot of really cool throwbacks to not just the original film, but a lot of other films in the franchise, which is fun for people who love that original film and the rest of the franchise. I feel like there's a lot of 2018 that fails to kind of like find its own footing and its own voice, and I feel like it kind of maybe should have gone more for closer to trying to have its own story in a way, like where focus more on Laurie Strode and like what her trauma is and stuff like that. And I didn't even really love that part either, but that was kind of the more interesting thing. And they kept, kind of cutting away to certain things. And then like, a lot of the times when they were building up tension, there would be like little jokes and stuff like that, because I'm like, well, it's David Gordon Green. He's kind of a comedy guy. So he's going to try to throw in a lot of comedy in there. And I just don't know if it fits in a Halloween franchise, but a lot of people really seem to like that one. However, I will say 2018 is so much better than Halloween Kills. From my perspective, going into it, it felt like a nosedive a little bit. There is one part of Halloween Kills that I really, really like, and that's it. Otherwise, I could argue that you can take maybe one or two things from Halloween Kills, put it in 2018, or put it in Ends, and just throw away Halloween Kills. You really don't even need that movie that much. But I know a lot of people were
Okay.
fans of like Michael in that movie, and thought he was super badass. I didn't really care for it all that much, except for, and I'll say this, and then I'll let you guys talk. I love Big John, and I love Little John.
Yes. Kerri?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard when, a beloved franchise is rebooted again, especially a franchise like Halloween where um a lot of the sequels have not been strong at all. Um it's I don't know. And I enjoyed parts of this trilogy. I think Chad and I enjoyed the same parts. I would say we both liked 2018. We both liked Ends. I would say we both. I think Kills is like a pretty bad movie. Just like the dialogue, the filmmaking choices. Like we were rewatching it before Ends, and I was like, this is kind of crazy. It just I don't know, doesn't hit for me. I know people really love the kills in that movie, and I can see that, but for me, that
Hmm.
doesn't make the movie. Like, I'm much more interested in plot and the characters than the kills. So for me, it didn't just, the whole Evil Dies Tonight
Over
chanting
and
and
over and over.
like. But I will say one thing because after we watched Ends, we started rewatching two. We rewatched 2, 3, and 4, and then we're on 5. And I would
Hmm.
say rewatching those after watching Kills and Ends, and even 2018 we watched earlier this month. You can tell how much David Gordon Green is a fan of the original
Yeah.
Halloween movies. He puts in
Hmm.
so many cool Easter eggs. And that to me is really cool. And I do admire him for making apparently very bold choices in Halloween Ends that
Oh
people
yeah.
hated. I thought it was
Well, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think maybe 2018 I still like a little bit more, but I thought Ends
Mhm.
was probably just as good. And for me, Kills was like, the Last Jedi of the the series for me. Although I love the Last Jedi,
Excuse
I actually love the
you.
Last
Oh,
Jedi. I love
oh,
What?
oh.
that.
um,
That's
I want to throw something in there. I do not think Halloween Kills is the worst Halloween movie.
No, not at
no, not
Um,
by a long shot.
but of the trilogy, yes.
Yeah.
And then also, let me just throw in there because I know Hunter's going to throw in his thoughts, and then we're probably just going to move on to
Mhm.
ends. I just
Yeah.
want to say I wish Big John and Little John just had their own movie and were in the movie
Yes.
more
I
because
know.
I just want to spin off from those characters,
Yeah.
and they were kind of wasted. And in fact, after we watched Halloween Kills, I was like upstairs going, Big John? And then Kerri was like, yes, Little John.
I will say, though, having been kind of disappointed by Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends was like a pleasant surprise, especially
Yes.
because
Hmm.
going into it, people were already freaking trashing it. Like, so
Yeah.
I expected it to be really horrible, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I don't really like I'll watch reviews and stuff, but I don't take them to heart like I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So for me, I am 2018 one. I loved. I thought it was a perfect kind of not really a reboot, but almost like a really good continuation of like where Laurie is after the events of '78. That's the way I looked at it. Not like they're rebooting the franchise, but like, all right, I get to see these characters that I love, and maybe what that trauma that she's going through because the new trilogy completely ignores Halloween 2. So of course Michael's not her brother. So now she's having to deal with this
Uh,
random lunatic who decided it's not an episode without one of them or multiples of them, but she's having to deal with the questions of why is this lunatic just targeting and stalking me, and that can kind of drive people insane. I actually liked the idea of Lori becoming like a survivalist who is just waiting for Michael to come back because she knows it and nobody else does. So it's just like I, that whole idea of like, you know, Laurie having to kind of fight the inevitable because she knows that Michael's is one day, you know, is going to escape. Like, it's just in her back of her mind. So I think that was done really well. I do wish that we didn't have the podcasters. I mean, this movie's out from 2018, so
Agree.
we can talk about it openly. The podcasters kind of took away from, like, you know, more Laurie scenes or more scenes of Michael in the asylum or whatever we could have gotten with that. And I hated the Certain stuff.
Yeah.
Especially at the end when he puts the mask on and he looks fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
So things like that. But I will say, I do like what Kills does, and it explains that, like, because in Kills, what I like is they explain that Michael was never after Laurie in Halloween 2018. It was Certain who was leading him out. So it wasn't like, oh, he's just randomly attacking, you know, Laurie again. It was that Certain was trying to get him back into trying to study him, so he lets him go, and Michael just wants to get home. And that's what, what's his name? Laurie's love interest in this series, the sheriff.
Oh, I don't remember the sheriff's name.
Hold on.
Not
How
Brett.
right here. Hawkins. Officer Hawkins.
There you go.
Yeah, so he tells her, he's like, Michael was never after you. He just wanted to go home. And that kind of ties into Ends. So I like how there are stuff that from Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends that kind of tie into each other. The whole Hanfield is the villain motif. I actually really like taking the outside look at the residents of Haddonfield as, like, they want to project their hatred and their fears on somebody else, which we get a lot of in Ends, but I feel like it was in Kills, it was in 2018's, that whole idea of, like, maybe Haddonfield is creating the monsters instead of just the monsters being the way they are. Because monsters usually don't come from nowhere. Like, people normally don't just snap. It's either an event or something that, like, kind of triggered them in their childhood that would cause them to be like they are. So that whole idea of, like, maybe it was, you know, the Haddonfield residents who kind of forced that evil out is what I love about the movies. Now, Halloween Kills is very interesting. I didn't like it at first, and then on a rewatch, I liked it more and more. And it wasn't because of the story or anything. It's just my horror brain kicks in, and it's like I can enjoy the kills in this movie because they're not gratuitous like they are in, say, the Rob Zombie movies, for example, where they're so hard to watch because of how brutal they are. This one has the perfect mix of, like, kind of that campiness and then kind of the serious, like, horror elements that I like. It's not a great movie and it's not a great story, but I can appreciate what they were trying to do being a middle movie in a trilogy. So yeah, I'd probably go 2018 Ends and then Kills in my ranking as well. So if you guys are ready, we can get into the actual spoiler discussion for Halloween Ends. So let's all go around and talk about what we thought about this movie. We can talk openly, we can talk non-spoiler, whatever you guys want to do first.
Okay. I mean, if we're going around the same kind of thing, I guess I'll start again. I also wanted to add, because of the where you're talking about 2018 with Laurie Strode and becoming the survivalist. It's really interesting to see post Halloween 1978, like what they do with Laurie's character when they have Laurie in these movies, because Halloween 2, it's interesting to see what they do with her there. Not much, but a little bit. And then Halloween H2O is another one where they also explore Laurie's trauma in just a different kind of way. So I'm actually interested in rewatching that one to see how that is, because they do the same thing in H2O as they do in 2018, just in very different ways. But then when we get to Halloween Ends, first off, there's a pretty fantastic opening sequence that I think other than Halloween 1978 is probably I think my favorite opening sequence to a Halloween movie, except for the original. Um,
Mhm.
and then we do the jump for 4 years later, and we get kind of like a thing where Lori is kind of trying to be at a similar place where she was in H2O, and why I like that movie quite a bit. But going back to, you said we're just doing general and not spoiler, or
No, we're doing.
We can do,
okay.
yeah.
So I loved the opening sequence. I loved what that set up for the
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess this guy is like one of the main characters, not a protagonist, but one of the main characters of the movie. And it's just so interesting how it take you think it's going to go one place and it doesn't, right, at least
Hmm.
right away. It goes to this other thing. You're like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what's going on, but it grabbed me anyways because it was so crazy and just out of the blue, or what, out of the left corner, right corner. I don't know what
Out of
um
left field.
out of left field.
Field.
There you go.
There we go.
Out of the right corner. But yeah, and then I loved what they did with that character. I loved how they introduced Michael, because he wasn't like the main focus of the movie, which is really interesting to see. And then
Hmm.
I also loved how Lori was kind of on a path of healing and like getting better. And after the death of her daughter from kills, she's trying to reconnect with her granddaughter and be like the
Mm.
normal grandma, and they're, whatever, and then things get in the way of that. And yeah, I just like how a lot of this stuff came together. I think my thoughts will probably develop more when you guys throw in your thoughts. So
Kerri?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I thought a lot of the storyline with Corey was pretty cool, and a lot of how Haddonfield kind of, or a lot of the people of Haddonfield kind of took to blaming him for what happened, even though it was an accident, and that probably is pretty realistic. Um, but I also really liked how Lori and oh God, what's her name?
who?
Allison?
Lori
Hmm.
and Allison, and some of the other folks in the town, were giving him a chance and sympathized with him
Hmm.
in the situation. I definitely think this movie was not without its like plot holes or like inconsistencies. Like
Oh,
it's kind of
oh yeah.
how Michael kind of like passes on the evil to Corey, but it's kind of vague whether there's anything supernatural there or not. It's a little weird that Corey then eventually, kills himself.
That was so shocking. I did not expect that to happen.
But I really liked where Laurie's character went in this movie, and I think, like you said, Chad, I think it's a lot because I do like H2O a lot, and what they
Hmm.
did with Laurie's character in that movie, how she is clearly traumatized, but the trauma doesn't run her life.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
and I really liked how this movie ends. I know a lot of
yeah.
people hated it because I
How
guess
ends
you
ends.
can't fucking kill Michael Myers, but I don't give a shit. I was like, if they do this ending, how they're setting it up, I'm like, this is great. I love this ending. And
Hmm.
they did. They stuck with it.
Hmm.
And going off of that, there was a contract earlier on in Halloween movies that you can't kill the boogeyman. But what's great is, according to Jason Blum of Blumhouse, he said that they're not following that contract. They were like, we have 3 movies, and if David wants to kill him off, then he'll kill him off. So that was never in their contract of like you can't kill Michael Myers off.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think they do. They did eventually. They kind of left it a little bit open ended at the end with maybe you want to talk about this more, Hunter, with like Laurie's kind of closing line. in the movie.
Yeah, which I really love this closing line. I believe she said something like, "Evil doesn't truly die; it transforms," or I can't remember the exact line.
Because it's
Changes shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changes shape, which
Yeah.
nice callback. So to me, and what's really interesting is the idea of transferring evil. Because if you remember at the end of 2018's, Allison is the one who's holding the knife at the end of the movie on the car, and she kind of looks, like she's bloodied up, but the knife has blood on it, and she kind of looks down at it, almost like kind of that partial interaction with Michael has gotten a hold of her. And then the events of Michael killing her mother just kind of drove her past that. I don't really think it's Michael kind of transferring evil like it's, a supernatural thing. I think it's just he finds people that are already damaged or already being turned against. And it's just that he allows them to see their true evil. Something like that, where it's like they can like really go further with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing with like that specific like line and concept is that I've seen it before. In Halloween 1978, they did it exactly the same thing. Here, it's just except they said it. Like that whole
Yeah.
thing about evil never dying is the whole point of the end of 1978, and that's just like my problem with these sequels in general is that it's just an excuse to say the same thing over and over and over again. That's just, I'm probably always going to feel that way, but since we always get horror sequels, if they do something interesting, I think it can be excused. And for me, I think this whole story thing really worked for me in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they had to have the confrontation between Laurie and Michael at the end. It was the contract of this trilogy. They had to do that because if not, then I agree with everyone who's saying that it's a travesty and it didn't subvert anything and just went the same way. But like that's where you thought it was gonna go, and then they gave you
Yeah.
this whole other story about evil, infecting people. And I thought they did it in a really good way in this one
Mm-hmm.
because this wasn't like an abrupt change for Corey. This was like an over time kind of thing. Like, he had this traumatizing thing, like and what that opening scene set up for me really worked because it was shocking. A kid dies
Yeah.
really horrific way, and you're like, oh, you kind of see it coming, but then you don't really know exactly what's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And then as soon as he kicks down that door, and it's almost comical in a way, but it's also horrifying. That is good, like horror comedy to me, where it's like, what just happened? Oh my God. And then you get to see him go on this path where I cared about him. I wanted to see him and Allison be happy together. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's been through so much shit. He's been through so much shit. They can heal each other. They can be there for each other. And it just so happens that, the town just will not let him heal. They will not, they're always going to scapegoat him as this, thing that, liken him to Michael. So he becomes Michael.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like the thing that really worked for me. And it's just one of those things where I expected ends to be another Halloween Kills, another let's get through this. And then after that first scene, I was like, all right, I'm on board. What do maybe upon rewatch, I won't like it as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people don't like this one. I think it might also be somewhat to the fact that it doesn't have as many kills and stuff as Halloween Kills does.
Specifically because Michael doesn't kill as many people.
Yeah.
But I think that's the whole thing is like, especially if you go to like Halloween 3, like Michael doesn't have to be the center of every goddamn Halloween movie. Go ahead, Hunter. I know you want to say something.
Oh, sorry. Speaking of Halloween 3, if you guys have noticed, I was watching a lot of kind of things I've missed or whatever in the Halloween trilogy for this one. But David Gordon Green likes to use the opening title sequences to tell you what type of movies you're getting. So the first one in 2018, it's a shot for shot as the 1978 one, and you kind of see parallels.
They take the rotten pumpkin and they freeze
Yeah.
it, and it's like we're giving you your
something new.
We're giving you your nostalgia back, but in a new way.
Yep, and then in Halloween Kills, it's shot for Halloween 2, the color scheme, the pattern, and this one follows Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, with the blue font.
Yes. Kerri noticed that, and I also just love that actual opening sequence, how they do it, where with the effect of the pumpkins breaking
open,
new one, and then they just keep breaking.
They
and
keep
I'm
getting bigger.
Yeah.
Really and what's cool is so that's why I wasn't really mad that we didn't get a lot of Michael in this one, because I was like, oh, he's kind of playing a mixture of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which didn't have Michael at all, and bringing back Michael and Laurie for one last time. And I think what they did well was a great balance of the two. You got that great 15-minute ending battle with Michael versus Laurie, which my brother brought this up, and I was so scared that the trailers were going to do this, where Corey was going to be the one behind the mask, and it wasn't going to be Michael, but I was just like, I don't see them doing that, because that would actually piss me off more if we didn't get an actual confrontation between Michael and Laurie that they promised.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, they did do that. He did wear the mask, and he was going around killing people who him.
And I think in Laurie, he tried to...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he tried to go kill her, and she was gonna
the fake suicide call,
and she was like, "You thought I was gonna kill myself, you bitch." I don't know what she
said.
She
shoots him off of the fucking platform, the 2-story platform area.
But then
which was so good.
The real
Yeah. In fact, though, Kerri, you brought up The Last Jedi when talking about Halloween Kills, but honestly, I feel like that's kind of, if any of these movies are in The Last Jedi, it's true. Halloween Ends.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because it's
more divisive.
It's divisive. It subverts things. Yes, they give you what you always expected at the very end, but the rest of the movie, and I thought the Michael Laurie stuff, they really, because people say, oh, they sidelined Laurie again. I'm like, no, they did that in Kills, and in some ways they also did that in 2018. When you have a lot of the interesting stuff was Laurie Strode in 2018, and then you cut over to her granddaughter going to a dance and hanging out with her boyfriend and then having drama with her boyfriend. I'm like, why do you need him in this at all? Just cut that stuff away and give us more Laurie Strode. And this, if you look at the actual screen time, she gets a lot of screen time. It's just not her and Michael the whole time.
Yeah.
But if we would have gotten, what did they want? Peter Griffin versus the chicken.
I don't know if I'm frozen or if they're frozen.
Are we frozen?
Is it me or you guys?
Are we frozen right now?
Not right now, but you were a minute ago. I don't know if that was on my end or on your end.
You weren't frozen, so maybe it was us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah. Yeah, you're good now.
So I was like, what do people want? Do they want the Family Guy Peter Griffin versus the chicken fight for 2 hours of there's Laurie versus Michael just fighting? How quick would that be? He would just kill her so easily.
Yeah.
Really quick. And in fact, I think, I don't know. I can't even remember how she got the leg up on him, but it was really cool to see all the things, like her stabbing.
She used the fridge to pin him down at one point, which was amazing.
Hands, and then stabbing the other hand, and then pinning the fridge, and then
she slashes him in the throat, and then cuts his veins to bleed out. God, it was brutal.
It was really cool how they did this. It's this is what you have to do to this motherfucker.
And then they do a parade and throw him around.
I love that. I love that. Because to me, that shows that it's like the town have finally have kind of stopped blaming Lori for the Michael situation, and they're now celebrating the fact that she has finally killed Michael.
I did think it was dumb through the whole movie, and I don't fault David Gordon Green and the writers for writing it this way, but everyone keeps fucking blaming Lori, like all of Halloween was her fucking fault or something.
Yeah.
And like she is really nothing to like. They're like, oh, you antagonized him. Like she was the only fucking person trying to actually kill him.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but I understand why he wrote it that way because that is, I think, realistic to how people are in real life.
But he also just really wanted you to hate Haddonfield, it seems, because in Halloween Kills, like that one guy who like jumps off the roof and dies.
Yeah.
I hated that part because it was like I just felt so bad for that guy, and I was like,
and that guy looked nothing like Michael Myers, like not build, nothing.
They had like zero, like not zero, but they had like 5% reason to agree to think that was him.
Yeah.
I think these movies are really cool at showing how people who are traumatized can kind of
overcome it
eventually, but I think a lot of like Kills and most of Ends showed how people can let the trauma like overrun their life and turn them into exactly.
Especially like Corey where it was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we see stuff like that happen all the time where an entire town is telling you that you're a monster, or the mom of the dead kid says that you're a monster and you can never be a good guy because you did that. And it's like it was an accident. And it's
speaking of that,
got to him.
Yeah, in that bar scene, and what's really cool is it's two different shots in the movie, but the first one is the mom like telling Corey that he's the monster, and then it cuts to the dad playing pool, and he's like, I never saw him as the monster. I knew it was an accident. I knew that he's a good kid who was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, but this town turned him into the monster. Yeah. So it's two different sides of the same coin.
That's a really good point. And then I did also really like that part where the dad was sitting there like, he was like, that kid, I knew he didn't do it on purpose, but then he was like, and then I saw him another time. And that look on his face, the look in his eyes, I knew he had changed or something. Like, oh, and then you see the shot of him looking at him, and you're like, that's really
completely different.
Really great acting from that guy who played the kid who played Corey, or the guy who played Corey. And I hope
Halloween Ends opened below expectations and below its predecessor in the new trilogy.
Disagree.
Open below? What?
Opened below expectations and below its predecessor.
Oh, well, like maybe in
like
sales.
I was about to say like a box office kind of way. Yeah. Like I don't know. I haven't looked at the box office for them and how it would translate from Kills to now. I know that 2018 was pre-pandemic and 2018 was pre-throwing the new Halloween movie on Peacock, probably before Peacock.
Yeah, because that was 2018. Peacock was like late 2019, early 2020.
Yeah. So so it would make sense for Kills and Ends not to earn as much as 2018 if we are talking box office. If we're talking quality, I think we've all said that. I'd have to rewatch Ends again, but I think Ends tops 2018 for me in a ranking.
I think I have the same ranking as Hunter.
Yeah. But it's close.
I think we are the minority of opinion, though.
Oh yeah.
Among very hardcore Halloween fans, I don't know if it's just because Michael didn't get a lot of screen time and was killed in the movie. If that's the main reason, I thought the script and just the filmmaking of this movie were a lot better than
Kill.
And I also think for me in particular, into throw spoil already, like in any ranking I do, what's going to be number one. I'm just a huge Halloween 1978 fan, and I enjoy somewhat the rest of the franchise.
Yeah.
Although I'm also of the opinion, like I've said, I don't think it needs to exist. So a movie like this that can actually come out and be interesting and actually like make me go, all right, where's this going now? I did not expect this. This isn't like this dour thing that happens in Kills, that's just trying to like make me, I don't know, angry and sad. Like what? I hate this. But yeah, End was really interesting, and I really like that actor who plays Corey.
Yeah, so another correlation that I see a lot of reviewers talking about is this is like Halloween meets Christine, the John Carpenter movie Christine.
Oh, kind of. Actually, yeah, kind of.
Because there's a character in there with the last name Cunningham as well,
right.
And he kind of gets, he gets kind of, not say possessed, but like he kind of turns a new leaf based on the car Christine.
Yeah. Christine, the book, is one of my favorite books. It's so fantastic. The movie is a really good John Carpenter. I would probably put that in like a high B tier if I was ranking John Carpenter films. They do that part okay, but yeah, the story itself definitely has a really cool change with. And I guess if you want to compare the two, Christine and Halloween Ends, Michael Myers can maybe be Corey's Christine. He's kind of like the catalyst in a way.
I wonder if David, maybe Hunter, if David Gordon Green or any of the writers have said whether they use the last name Cunningham as a call out to Christine or possibly as a call out to Sean S. Cunningham.
Sean S. Cunningham.
13.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Maybe both.
Yeah, maybe both.
Yeah, maybe both. I don't remember hearing any interviews where he said that he got the idea from Christine, but to me it makes sense more for it being Christine because he does have a lot of references to John Carpenter, especially in this movie and the trilogy, because the opening of this movie, they're watching The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, on TV. Which again, great parallel to 78 when Laurie's watching The Thing from another, is it world or planet? One of the two, world, right?
For another world. Yeah.
Yes.
And I love a lot of the Halloween movies, and also Scream, because Scream took from Halloween a lot. It's like, this is the new Scream, and it was successfully like the new Scream. Nearly as fantastic as Halloween. I think Scream and Halloween for me are on par. You know how much I love Scream. They don't do the same thing where Scream, they're watching Halloween, and Halloween, they're watching The Thing from Another World. In this Halloween Ends, they're watching The Thing. And in what is it, Halloween 3, they're watching Night of the Living Dead.
No, in Halloween 3, they're watching Halloween.
The original Halloween.
Yes, okay. So in Halloween 2, they're watching Night of the Living Dead. That's
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I remember seeing like a commercial for like the original Halloween. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will throw out there, since we're talking about this, Season of the Witch I thought was really interesting in how they used the score from Halloween.
Yes.
Scream also does this, where Scream takes the score from Halloween, and it's like, we're going to cheat, and we're going to have someone watching the movie Halloween in our movie, so we can use amazing score.
So John also said, what's the connection between Christine and Halloween Ends? So for me, it's the whole idea of Christine in the movie, the main character, not only has the same last name, but he gets corrupted by the car in order to, it makes him change. Just like in this one, Corey gets corrupted and it changed by not only Haddonfield, but Michael Myers as well.
Yeah, the great explanation. I didn't think about it until Hunter brought it up. I think Hunter's probably been reading a lot more stuff out there.
I do that a lot over new movies.
But that actually kind of a perfect little comparison. That I like that, and it actually makes me like the movie even more.
uh, so getting back into the movie somewhat, I love the connection between Corey and Allison. Like the chemistry, I think was there. Because at first I was like, I don't know if this works, but as they progress, and you kind of see that Allison is at one point is trying to fix Corey in a way, but she's not doing it just for him. She's doing it to kind of like fix herself as well. So as you said, they're kind of fixing each other. And he even has that line outside the party where it's like, you can't fix me. Like, the town already hates me. Like, there's no fixing me. And this is right after, I believe, right after this, he gets those dickhead of a bullies, man. Man, they're so rude, man. Just, like, stab him and, like, fucking throw him, over the bridge or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the relationship because I think both characters have been through so much shit, like like we've said, that they just both kind of want like normalcy. And I mean that's what Laurie Strode wants, it seems too. Like she wants to find some sort of like happiness and be like a normal family. And I mean, now that Michael's dead, I guess they can do that. I mean, there's extra trauma there now because the guy she really liked or maybe loved, I don't know, is dead. But it sucks that he went the way he went, but there was no happy ending for him.
Yeah, and there's really no happy ending for Allison either, because at the end of the movie, it's shown that she's leaving Haddonfield. Like, she's completely skipping town.
I thought,
but I understand.
Like part of her character arc, and I kind of thought it was good because I think Corey was kind of like, well, why don't you just leave? Why don't you get out of here? And she's like, well, I want to, but I need to help with my grandmother. We need to connect and stuff. And I think it shows that the ending shows that both she and Laurie are able to finally move on a little bit.
Yeah, because it seems like... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because she's shown through the movie, she's working as a nurse in this hospital. The doctor's mistreating her. And Corey's like, why are you staying here? And, I think this is like her leaving and going on the road is like more of like, she's not running away. It's more of like a new future for her.
Hey, maybe it's kind of like Buffy in season 3. Field to change.
You mean like Angel? Like,
huh?
What are you talking about?
And? Never mind.
No, that's the end of season 2.
Season 2. Okay.
Yeah, the end of season 2 going into season 3. But,
yeah, no, that's what I meant. Season 3. Yeah.
You were going to say something.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I love how Jamie Lee Curtis plays Laurie Strode in this movie. Because it's somebody who has gone through therapy, someone who has finally gotten over the trauma, and she's able just to show a lot of, like, her comedic side. Especially when she's, like, carving the pumpkin and she has the guts out and she just, like gives everyone, the finger. It's just so funny. Like, because in 2018, I get it, but, why she's acting like that. But I feel like it was a little too over the top. And in Kills, we don't really see her a lot. So in Ends... it's a perfect mix of, like, someone who's still that survivalist, but someone who is slowly trying to move on. And she gets a lot of scenes where it's like, kind of more comedic, which I like. It shows more of the lighter side of Laurie Strode.
Yeah. And I do think that was something that I think was purposefully missing from the 2018 movie, and maybe... looking at the whole as a whole trilogy, maybe that was probably, David Gordon Green's point, was to start her off in this really horrible place and like show this journey of how she feels and is able to kind of come back to herself, that the person we saw in the first Halloween movie.
Yeah. All right. So thoughts on the bullies, like the band geek bullies.
I love them, dude. They were so cool. One of them had a mullet, and that was really cool. How cool are mullets? I mean, dude, like he was a pretty.
Was this the 1980s again?
They're just like picking on a nerd who deserved it.
A nerd who's like older than them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Corey's like 25
bad.
or something.
Bro, buy us beer. No,
No.
you nerd.
Fuck you. Which I love the fact that like in the 80s it was like the jocks that were the boys. Now it's the band geeks.
Yeah. I was talking to Kerri about that too. Like, what? How is band badass now? All right, cool.
I love it. But these guys like reminded me so much of like the boys from It.
Yeah.
Another Stephen King adaptation novel. It's I don't know. I don't like them, but that's the kind of the point.
And almost the bullies from the Karate Kid, where it's
yes,
like, hey, he's had enough.
I would say they're very 80s style bullies. Like, like they're street bullies. They're not like complex, or anything. Well, I mean, I guess maybe a little bit.
You did see the one jock band kid.
That's a thing. That's a term now.
You saw him like, after they slashed his tire, his dad's like, yelling at him and stuff like that. So they get like a little bit. Yeah. And the
good question. I don't think so.
Unless I fell
Lindsay Wallace?
I don't think she dies, right?
I don't think so. I think she's just kind of there.
She's like very briefly
in the beginning.
Yeah, I think when they're carving the pumpkins and she's the bartender throughout.
Yeah, she's a bartender. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, like, I think also because Hunter mentioned the bully from It, Bowers. I think his dad's kind of a piece of shit too, isn't he? Or is he just just a sheriff?
Yeah,
no, his dad's a piece of shit. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, Corey has that great line of like, your dad hates you, so now you spread hate to everybody else. I know how this works.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, that's pretty much how boys are created.
Yep, and that's just the thing about violence beget violence, and just the whole the bully vicious cycle thing. Like you get it on you, and then you have to dish it out just the same or more on someone else.
So there are some great kills in this movie that I want to talk about.
One more thing that I want to bring up before we get on to the kills, and it actually involves a kill, even though it's the unintentional one that we've already mentioned. But I also love how the movie begins and Corey's a babysitter.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Speaking of that, I watched one interview that Collider did with David Gordon Green. He said he picked that intentionally because he wanted to pay homage to the original Halloween, where it was like, one night, Halloween night, there's a babysitter and there is, kind of this ominous feeling of like there's something there, but you don't know what's going to happen until it happens.
Yeah. And I mean, the original title was something like The Babysitter Murders.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's part of how the kid gets so much in Corey's head too. Is he's like, "Oh, Michael Myers, he kills babysitters. You're a babysitter. Like, this is the first Halloween after Halloween Kills." It's like, obviously everyone's fucking expecting to be murdered. I don't know how they're acting so normal.
Because it is 2019. And ends. Well, not all of ends, but the beginning of ends. And when Jeremy's
the beginning of ends is 2019.
That's what I just said.
Oh, I thought you said 2018. Sorry.
When Corey, when Jeremy's no longer there in the living room watching the thing, you do think it's Michael Myers there, and so that's why they put you in the shoes of Corey until Corey starts raging against the door, and then you're like, Corey, bro, calm down, dude. Like you're gonna, and then
Damn. Maybe it's in the contract for the last film to be bad in order for fans to want a better Halloween film for the future.
Bad, then maybe that works for you as a conspiracy-laden speculation. about how these were. But I'm sure David Gordon Green did not go out to make a bad movie.
Yeah.
But
This film has an identity crisis since it feels like it's part Christine and part Halloween. That's kind of what I like about it, though.
I agree. I agree with you, Hunter.
I think
Yeah.
it's just, I think it's just different than I think the prior two films in this trilogy.
Yeah, I will say
different than
the. Oh,
I was just gonna say different than like all the other Halloween movies out there. Like Kills
Yeah.
felt more of the same to me, and that's why I was like, this is going like 2018 was interesting, not great to me, but interesting, and
Mhm.
liked it. And then Kills was like, okay, now it sucks again. All right, great. It's Rob Zombie Halloween, and then Ends was like, okay. So yeah, what were you gonna say, Hunter?
Oh, I'm sorry. Garcia also says, Sins, no John Carpenter cameo, no Lindsay character arc, cutaway kills, and the best ending should have been Allison shooting Corey. And then he said, and he mysteriously disappears like the 78 ending while Laurie kills Michael with Lindsay.
Well, maybe you thinking that's how it was going to go down with Allison shooting Corey, and then that not happening. Maybe that is a subversion in another way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a very divisive film, and I'm okay being on the less popular side of this, I'll say. But I can clearly or easily see this movie being like Season of the Witch, where like when it first came out, people hated it because it didn't have Michael in it. But as the years and years and years have gone by, people have started appreciating more for its own thing. I can see people in the long term appreciating this movie for trying something new.
Yeah. And I wasn't really mad about Lindsay not being in the movie that much. I don't think they set her well. I'm gonna say within the trilogy, you know, she has some decent parts in Halloween Kills, but I don't think they really set her up as much as obviously Laurie and Allison. I think the marketing set her up to be a third lead. And I think that was a big mistake because it's not that she's not the Judy Greer of this movie. She's a very minor character.
And I mean, that's the other thing too is I kind of wish Judy Greer hadn't been killed off in Kills because I liked her as a character too.
I kind of feel like you had to have her killed because that's what gave us this Allison character that I really liked in this film is like one that is kind of damaged and is looking to fix somebody else.
Yeah, I see that. I also just thought from the very beginning that I kind of wish we never had a granddaughter. I kind of wish it was just the mother-daughter thing the entire time.
Yeah.
But because we did have the granddaughter, I agree with you, Hunter, on that front that something good shit. I liked Karen as a character, but something good came out of her death, I guess.
Yeah, I would say we probably wouldn't have the relationship between Laurie and Allison we have in this movie if Judy Greer hadn't done
That's a good
the
point
previous
too,
one.
yeah.
But I agree with you. I did really like her character, especially like, you know, that was one of the parts I liked about Halloween Kills was her character and how it showed she's a kind person. She's trying to save that guy so badly. She saves her daughter, and
it felt like the emotion in this and like the psychology was at the forefront in this rather than just the gore and kills. Like they have some of that, but it's more of the psychological and then the emotion. Like one of my big complaints about like 2018 is like, I mean, a lot of stuff is going on in that movie, but like Allison's dad dies and no one seems that upset about it. No one's like, who cares about the kid?
They didn't even bring it up in this movie.
And then in Kills, they like cried for like Kerri said as we were watching it 30 seconds. And then they just like, who cares again? And I feel like nothing really actually affects them, and it feels like in Ends there's actually a lot of emotion going on.
And I think for Kills, it's part of that's because it's all taking place on that one night, and there's not you obviously you're in there for a Halloween movie. You don't want to sit there and see Judy Greer and what's her name, Andy Malchek, whoever
Yeah.
plays
Malchek.
Alice,
Yeah.
cry
Mhm.
for an hour,
Malchek.
you know, it would be a very boring movie.
Yeah.
But I like that we do kind of get to see more of the long-term emotional impact in that.
Mhm.
By putting it 4 years in the
Yeah.
future. But yeah, I will
Yeah.
say that's a good point, talking about it being the next part of the night kind of a deal. Is that Halloween Kills does kind of mirror Halloween 2,
Yes.
purposefully,
Yeah.
but in
Mhm.
all the worst ways.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Same night. It's in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently, according to
Lori's in the bed most of the night.
But they
yeah,
and kills by Michael not going to the hospital. He's not actually hunting Lori.
yeah.
Just going home, right?
So another complaint that a lot of people had is, why is Michael hanging out in a sewer? And I was like, I wondered that at first, and then I remembered there's something in the paper that states that the Myers house has been torn down. So the whole idea is he's weakened. It's 4 years later, and he does not have a home to go to. That is why he is sheltered like he is.
Defaults to the sewer. He pulls a Bill Skarsgård and goes to the sewer.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he's I presumed him to be like weakened, I guess, by the
Yeah.
at the end of Halloween Kills,
Yeah.
even though he kind of rampaged and killed everyone who was beating him up in Halloween Kills. I guess he did have some long-term
effects
of that. Yeah.
He was real sad about it.
because originally this movie was supposed to take place the same night as Halloween Kills as well.
I'm glad it
But yeah, but because of the pandemic and they couldn't shoot back to back to back like they wanted to, they had a forced rewrite to make it 4 years into the future.
I'd be curious to see the script, the original script. Then, you know,
I feel like it probably was worse.
I don't think I would have liked it as much because I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of what I liked about this movie was Lori and Allison's arcs, and I don't think I would have gotten that arc in the same night as Halloween and Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
The other thing that I just realized, and I don't know if you guys brought this up and I spaced out, but the thing about like your Corey and Arnie thing is that Corey's totally into cars.
Yeah, he is.
He knows how to fix Allison's car. He's like, I can fix that in like 5 minutes. I just need my tools. You know, all that stuff. And then yeah, and it just takes place in like this like junkyard that he works. And I thought that was not the whole movie, but he works in a junkyard. I thought that was really cool because that's very Christine. That's also what Arnie does, is he works at the garage.
Yep. So the Iron Spider kid, Haskins, says they took Michael's powers away. I don't think in this trilogy Michael is supposed to have supernatural powers, because they've always said that they wanted Michael to be kind of grounded in reality, and the him killing to get, I guess, strengthened. The way I look at it is, the reason why Michael is able to kind of power back up is because he hasn't had the taste of blood. He hasn't had the taste of like that bloodlust in about 3.5, 4 years. So when he starts killing, he's weaker, but as he kills and kills and kills and kills more, that bloodlust kicks in, and he needs it more and more and more. Almost like a drug addict. When you take an addict and try to take it away, they become weaker depending on it. Michael becomes dependent on killing. And when he gets the first taste of killing, that's when he feels back to normal. That's when he feels like he can do anything, just like an addict in a way.
Michael has gone through kill withdrawal.
He has.
I will say, I think this entire trilogy is very inconsistent about whether he has any supernatural powers or not.
Yeah.
Because in Kills, it is kind of implied that he is, because that statement is made like he gets more power the more he kills. I don't know if maybe that was just like David Gordon Green was trying to do kind of more of the conspiracy thing, and the whole town is like just freaking out about Michael. But the way Kills ends and Michael gets up from what should be some pretty fatal blows and then just kills everyone. And even at the beginning of that movie, when he walks away from the fire that should have killed him in the first place, it's really implied that he has some kind of power. And I would say even in the third one, it's kind of up in the air because there's definitely implications that he's somehow transferred something to Corey, that he keeps gaining power by killing people.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't. If they just made him a normal man, that would be fine with me as well. And I think that was more of the intent of the original 1978 movie. Was he's just he's a person, but he's.
And when he like actually like just disappears at the end, it's kind of like metaphorical. But of course, with the modern movies, unless you're the Babadook, I don't see a lot of metaphors in today's movies. They're like,
I think
there's
in today's movies. I think especially if you go to, the more indie horror movies.
I mean, It Follows is
indie horror, but not if you go Blumhouse, David Gordon Green. I don't know.
I think this trilogy was a good metaphor for drama.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So to me, on the Halloween kills, like Michael being able to start the fire thing, I think what they did well is that they kind of showed that Michael is kind of smart because he hid in Laurie's gun compartment and he was able to escape when the firefighters came because they were riding right past Laurie, and you would think the firefighters are almost there to her house, so he wouldn't have been in that fire for too long at that point. So who's to say he didn't just hide behind the gun compartment and was able to escape like that? I like the idea of like giving little hints of like maybe he doesn't have powers, maybe he's just kind of smart in a way to be like I'm gonna hide in here, and then he hears the sirens and he just goes and murders everybody. And then again with the killing thing, I again take that as the bloodlust. The more he kills, the more powerful he gets. But that's just I'm guessing metaphorical of like he needs to kill. It's that hunger that killers have to like just keep doing it and keep doing it.
It's just just what he does.
He just kills. Speaking of kills, there are some very interesting kills in this movie as well. I hate the fact that Corey has probably the best kills in this movie.
Yeah.
Because I really want to be Michael, but dude, the DJ scene at the radio station, which by the way, great seeing what's her name from Joe Bob Briggs' show, the mailbag girl.
Darcy.
Darcy, yes.
Deanna Prince is the other name she goes by. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her.
Great seeing her as the receptionist in this movie. But dude, that was fucking brutal. Corey just goes in there, like beats the DJ's head in. You see his teeth fall out, and then he just cuts his fucking tongue. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and it's like on the record player spinning, and
that was so funny. That was a great use of like comedic death. It was so funny.
I think the beginning one was funny for me just because of the shock of it, but like this one, like I just don't find death that funny to be
again, it's not funny. Like, trust me, I'm not a psychopath. I promise you guys. But it's just the funny part of like he gets his tongue cut out, and then it's just like rotating on the turntable, and you just hear it kind of like skipping beats almost every time.
Yeah. I think maybe also because like he like the whole. I think that could be a metaphor. Like, doesn't he like talk about how like his influence and talking with his over the rate, and like that's what you talk with is your tongue. I don't know.
Yep. Any death scenes that you guys want to bring up?
And like right before he goes to Laurie's.
That's so specific. I know he kills.
Are you talking about the bully scene in the garage?
I was like, I think I know he kills the homeless guy.
That one was that one
That
I
was
just thought
sad.
was rough and sad. Yeah, because
Because it's a homeless guy. It's like that's.
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was he warning him too?
I'm trying to remember if he was warning him or if he
He was
was
like, I'm gonna
like,
catch you. Because we were like wondering, we were like, is that homeless guy Michael Myers?
That's what I thought too. I was like, is that Michael?
it's like that kind of looks like James Street Courtney with like
Yeah.
on facial hair, like.
And but then like it was like he was like singing, and then I was like, I don't know if he would go that far to make Michael actually talk.
Yeah.
Because that seems so.
Yeah.
But
Thank God it wasn't.
He's a fan of the
Yeah.
franchise. He would know. Don't do
I
that.
know, yeah.
Yeah. But to me, it was like that scene, again, shows that Corey was in a situation where he didn't mean to kill the guy. The guy pulled a knife on him, and he just fought back against it. So it's that idea of like, is Corey doing this?
By accident, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, is Corey doing this, on purpose, or is it just bad shit is following this kid?
Yeah. And so that's kind of like the transitional moment. Like the one was purely accident with the kid.
Yeah.
And he was angry because the kids locked him in there and he was trying to kick the door up. But also because it's like, he's saying like, your parents are going to come home. They're going to be mad that this is even happening right now. So he gets angry and aggressive. And I think that's probably my favorite kill because it just like, I did not expect that to happen. And that was so shocking the way he like falls on the ground dead right as the parents come in.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was gonna accidentally stab the kid, thinking the kid was Michael Myers or something.
Yeah.
I expected to go down the way it went down.
Me neither. I was like, whoa, they actually killed a kid. What?
Right. Yeah. That's another thing that they did similar to it.
Yep.
Killed the kid.
I love the whole scene in the salvage yard where Corey just kills everybody, like all the bullies and stuff. Like the first one, again, harken back to Christine, where the guy has his head on the horn and his buddies go up and lift him up, and he has like, what is it, like a pole or something stuck in his mouth or his head or something.
That was the mullet kid, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then fucking Corey just runs down the girl bully just right through a fucking fence, man. She gets pinned down.
It's interesting because like you always want to see, and especially in like 80s movies with like the bullies and 80s bullies, you want to see the comeuppance, you want to see the protagonist, defeat the bullies and like give them a taste of their own medicine. And Corey did it, but he like really did it. He's like not fucking playing around. He's like, all right, I don't want you guys bullying me anymore. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does pull a bit of a Kerri where he's like,
Yes. Yes.
That's another Stephen King.
Kerri. Good pull, Kerri.
Maybe that person who talks about this is kind of like a Stephen King / Halloween.
This is really a Stephen King meets Halloween movie.
Maybe that's why we like it so much, because we
might be
love
why.
Stephen King.
Yep. I will say the only thing I feel like is kind of a negative, it's not really like a big negative, is that I wish we got to see the Corey character more in previous movies. Like maybe he was a friend in 2018's to Allison. Maybe he's a friend. Maybe they kind of have a relationship going on in Kills, and then this whole thing happens and ends.
I think that's a good call, Hunter, because honestly, that's how you make a fantastic trilogy, is you take a character and you like develop them over time. Like I still would have wanted to have that kill the very opening sequence of the same way.
Keep that the same.
But yeah, maybe instead of like that one kid who just kept crushing on Allison and ends up dying on the fence, Maybe instead
Yeah.
of being that kid that really went nowhere,
Yeah, it's Corey.
be Corey. Yeah, and they're not, and he's not like this horny kid trying to get Allison to date him,
No.
but he's just like a platonic friend, and then they can end up in a relationship after they
Yeah.
both experience all this trauma.
I'd be interested to see, because my suspicion is, right, because you had said, Hunter, that this was a rewrite from
Mm-hmm.
the original planned ending of this trilogy. And I imagine this whole Corey character was probably new. I'd be interested to learn if that's true or not, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me,
Why it's
like,
he's not, in the prior
yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
To me, like, it would make more sense if you would have, again, introduced him, like, as maybe a side character, like the friend, as you said, in Halloween 2018, and then after, maybe at the end of 2018's Halloween, her boyfriend dies, and then, Halloween Kills, they start dating, and then this happens at the opening of Halloween Ends, where Corey, kills the kid, and then that's what makes the relationship grow stronger, is that they both have experienced this kind of, this Michael thing where the town is now turning on them both.
Yeah. Because, I mean, essentially, that's what we're wondering here is like, I mean, say Halloween's kill. Well, not a lot of people, except for us, I guess, like Halloween Ends, but we think Halloween Ends is pretty good. And Halloween Kills is not that good. I think even Hunter.
I still enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, you said it's still, you don't think it's like a good movie.
No.
So I think, like, how can you make, like, is it a good trilogy? No, because at least one of the movies we don't think is good, and maybe even could be not even a movie. Like, we could just have had other things take place other times.
Yeah.
Like Karen could have died at the end of 2018, and then I think we could have still got. But that's the whole question: is you had to go and make a trilogy. So is it a good trilogy? If not, like, I mean, these are the good questions to ask. Like, what could it have done better? Like, Hunter's even doing this. Like, I wish Corey could have been, at the beginning. And like Star Wars, the original trilogy of Star Wars. It's a lot of these trilogies that are like the best trilogies ever. Like, what makes it such a fantastic trilogy, and how could this have been that?
I think it's hard just to ever live up to the original Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, always. They're never going to reach that, and that's why I said that's exactly what Mike Flanagan was like. I'm not gonna go do my own. I'm gonna go do my TV shows because I'm not.
I mean, with the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I hate the fact that they gave Michael Myers a backstory.
Yes.
I was like, I don't need Michael to be a young kid, because what sucks about that is in the first Halloween movie, we gotta spend about 50 minutes with characters that we fucking hate.
Dude.
And there was no break. And Rob Zombie is good at one thing, and that's writing unique, original characters. Because those are his characters that he can spin the way he wants. When you take characters like Michael Myers that have an established IP, it does not work because he wants to kind of dissect it. But what's great about the new Halloween trilogy, I think, is that it doesn't feel like they're rewriting Michael. It feels like it's the same Michael as 1978, but he's just older now. And we get to experience more of him and Laurie. It feels like it could be a continuation.
Oh, yeah.
And what's good about that is, if you guys don't want to watch Kills and Ends, you can literally just watch the 1978 version and the 2018 version, and it's a good, complete series of movies, a double feature, because both of them end in a way where it's like, Michael could have died in 2018, we don't know, but Laurie survives, and that's what I like about it. Is it's like you can watch like Laurie being this young girl who is stalked by this killer, and then 2018 she confronts that and kills it. That's the story.
Yeah.
And it works.
Piggybacking off all of that, you could also just watch 1978, and feel completely satisfied.
Yeah.
But I agree with Hunter. I think it's a decent trilogy in that it's not directed by Rob Zombie. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
I agree with you about the Rob Zombie. In fact, John Carpenter's even spoken up about this because like he at one point was like, wow, I don't want to like say negative things about, Rob
Hmm.
Zombie or his take, but then he was like, oh, but Rob Zombie insulted me. So yeah, I think Rob Zombie ruined the character. Like, we don't want to know that much about the guy.
Yeah.
I think David Gordon Green treated and the writers treated these characters with a lot of care and
Yeah.
didn't
Mhm.
try to rewrite anything, didn't really try to even, having kind of the ambiguity of whether Michael is supernatural or not. I think that exists in the first movie, but to an extent, because he does disappear. And I love how he did bring back so many of the original actors and actresses.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
was cool to see.
And the characters.
And even though Mike Flanagan didn't do it, a Mike Flanagan actor, Robert Longstreet, is in it, and
Lonnie.
I love him. He plays Lonnie.
Ooh.
I love that whole character just comes from like, in the 78 version, there's a reference to Tommy being picked on by Lonnie, and then that's a whole character, and
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing to me. It shows me how much David Gordon Green really does care about the original, even
Yeah.
the 2 and 3, or not 3. Well, yeah, 3 because he uses the masks and kills, and I thought that was
Mhm.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I think it is fun, even though I don't think it's necessary. It is still cool now that we
Yeah.
have it to see those actors come back and see that they're doing. I kind of wish maybe they tried and couldn't, but I kind of wish the original Tommy Doyle had come back and not what Dead Zone guy. What is his name?
Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Anthony Michael Hall.
You said Dexter, I think.
They're similar.
They are.
Yep. So, as like actually talking about this with you guys, it made me kind of respect the David Gordon Green trilogy even more than I did before. I love 2018. I love Ends. Kills, I'm iffy on, but again, it's not a bad movie, but maybe Kills will kind of grow on me more and more because what I do love that Kills does is it makes Haddonfield an actual character. It makes the town feel like an actual character instead of just being like, the back piece or like, just the setting. It makes it feel like, okay, these are actual characters that we grew up with. You know what I mean? Like bringing Lindsay Wallace back and Tommy Doyle and all of these kind of, just these small details of like kind of expanding it out. Like we see the bar in Halloween Kills and we see just kind of what Haddonfield looks like instead of just like Laurie's home and some of the neighbors' house. Like we actually get to spend time in Haddonfield in all 3 of these movies, which I like. I like the idea of like taking the town and just kind of being like, okay, it feels like a lived-in town is what I'm trying to get to.
That's not a bad point, and it is interesting to see the anger of the town manifest. Even if I don't like the results of that anger, and
Evil
I don't
Dies Tonight. Evil Dies Tonight.
Repeating that phrase.
Well, I think what I don't like about it is that a lot of it is very over the top. Like even from the bar scene when Anthony Michael Hall comes up and makes that speech about like, oh, we lived through it's like, to me it's so fucking crazy. I'm like,
it's so bad. Here's to Laurie. It's so cheesy, but again, Halloween Kills it feels like a movie that like I could put on a Halloween night and just kind of have fun with the kills, and like turn my brain off, just enjoy it. It's not a movie that like say like Rob Zombie's Halloween or Halloween 2 where I'm just like I cannot put this on because it will ruin my fucking night.
So Kerri and I, like she mentioned, we're and I'll go ahead and plug this because I want Hunter on there. Over on my channel, Chadwick Webb, I sometimes do rankings. Kerri is usually no, she's always on there. And one day you'll be like, I don't want to rank that shit, and I'll just do it on my own. But
not that it's shit, but I'm not gonna watch all the Star Trek movies, so you could definitely.
Fair enough.
One day I do the Star Treks. Okay, I'll count you out. But yeah, we wanted to do Halloween. I was like, it's going to be probably another 10 years before because I'm pretty sure they're probably going to do another one at some point.
Yeah, but it won't be under Blumhouse because the rights have been reverted back to the Akkad family.
Yeah, so when they try to take it back after this horrific, bomb failure that Halloween Ends was, it's going to be another like 10 years or so that we're going to get another Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to do a ranking. I want to watch all of them again because there's some that I saw once and I was like, I don't remember how I felt about it. Like there's some that like I lump Halloween 4 through 6 all in like one thing. And it is like its own little trilogy actually, but I was like, I want to check these out again. Find out, do I really like H2O that much, or was it just a pleasant surprise after that 4 through 6? Yeah.
After Resurrection, you're like, anything's better.
Well, Resurrection is after H2O.
Oh, is it after? Okay.
You're like, oh, H2O, this is nice. Let's check out Resurrection, and then it's like,
and then you're just like, no, Busta Rhymes.
If you look at a lot of rankings, Resurrection is like it's the bottom. It's right there with the Rob Zombies, but yeah, and even Rob Zombie, the second one. I'm wondering how that is because it's been such a long time since I've seen that. So, and I just remember like one person did like a ranking or did something, and they're talking about it was Red Letter Media, I think, when they're talking about the kid from Spy Kids that beats up Michael Myers. This is a good way to describe that movie.
Wait, Spy Kids.
So yeah,
Danny Trejo.
No, the kid from Spy Kids is like a schoolmate. He's a bully of my.
Oh, he's the bully. Okay.
Yeah. So on my channel, Kerri and I are watching through, and we've invited Hunter, and we're gonna do a ranking. I'm trying to see who else might want to jump on there with us, but
suffer through some of these movies.
Oh, the Rob Zombie ones are gonna be so hard for me to watch again, man.
If you've seen it once, you're fine.
Yeah. So, but Kerri's never seen Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
That's the only one I haven't.
Good luck. Good luck.
Godspeed, Kerri. So yeah,
it's not as bad as the first one. I'll tell you that it's not as bad as the first one.
Interesting.
I've heard the opposite. So
yeah, so I'm interested to see how I feel because I believe I saw that back when I was working at Blockbuster. It's like 2007.
Whoa, Blockbuster!
Yeah, when it came out. So, well, 2009 is when the sequel came out. So I must have saw it. 2009.
That's
So. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, that's when I was working. Yeah.
So, to me, it's like the only good thing about Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie one, is that you don't get a 50-minute backstory for Michael Myers. So it feels more like a Halloween movie that's just bad.
Yeah, and I'm interested to talk about the things that I do actually like about 6 and stuff like that because they're at least one thing. So I'm just interested to talk about the whole franchise because I don't think it's necessary. I just want 1978 and the rest can kind of go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy the rest somewhat. Especially Ends. I thought Ends was fun.
I would say the trilogy is definitely like, I think we've all said we probably skip over the Rob Zombie ones again, but this trilogy is one I could see going back to every once in a while.
Yeah.
Even kills.
Yeah, even just watching
because of Big John and Little John, baby.
Yeah.
Big John and Little John, let's go. Dude, that song he plays in the house, Halloween. Dude, it's amazing.
I love those characters just because in the midst of all that stuff that I don't like, there's these two characters that I just find hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like this gay couple that live together in the Michael Myers home, and they're just like Big John and Little John.
They love to fuck with children too. Oh, it's so funny.
Those kids fucked with them real bad.
They did.
Yeah.
And I will say also in Halloween Kills, the little girl of those three kids reminded me of the little girl from Psycho Gorman. If you've ever seen that,
I have to watch that.
Check that movie out.
It's on Shudder, I think.
It is on Shudder,
and
it's really funny and it's really good. And that little girl will either be insufferable to you or she'll be hilarious. Kind of like Halloween Ends, I guess. Is
yeah, in a way, yeah.
They're pretty good.
I do love the kill of Allison's boyfriend in Kills. I think it was so brutal. His head is stuck in the fucking what is it? The railing, and he just gets his. Dude, Michael Compton just breaks his neck with his foot. I was like, oh shit.
And because it's a movie, and that's the boyfriend of one of the main characters, it had to go on really, really for a long time, and you're just like, he's gonna die.
Yep.
You know, like either you hate that character because like, but didn't he just cheat on her and what all this stuff? But then it's also, God bless you. It's also, you know, you don't want to see him die because Allison likes him and he's not a terrible person.
Yeah. He's not a terrible person. He's a teenager. Yeah. Teenagers make dumbass mistakes.
True.
And I also
going after her.
Go ahead.
So, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I do like the opening of Halloween Kills a lot. I like how it's like it opens up 1978 Halloween Halloween night right after Michael escapes, and you see the way like Hawkins and all of them are. Oops, sorry. Hawkins and them go into the Myers house, and you have all the like. I think the camera work is amazing because it feels like it could be a continuation from 78's Halloween, where it's filmed in that kind of graininess of like old school film, which I like. And then it's just like Michael appears, Hawkins shoots his partner. I think it's all well done. There are great moments in Halloween Kills, but then there are also moments that you're like, why'd you have to do that? Why'd you have to, you know, have the whole town be so stupid and, like, chase after a poor innocent inmate who doesn't look like Michael at all?
Yeah.
Just those moments, man.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Little John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a sad scene. By the way, you can clearly tell what comedy is David Gordon Green and what comedy is Danny McBride, who's also a writer for these movies. Yeah. Big John and Little John, I'm pretty sure, was a Danny McBride.
Probably, yeah. I'm actually surprised he didn't want to play like Big John or something like that.
Oh, that would have been so funny. That would have been so funny.
It could have been like his character from Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. We have talked about Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends more than we have the 2018 one, and you know what? I'm okay with that. All these movies are fun. To me, it's like, it's not a bad trilogy. It's just, you can't really top 78's. And I know that's not what they were trying to do. They were trying to tell their own story, kind of like a continuation, which I like. I like the fact that you can watch 78 and then 2018, and it feels like one long story.
Good point. Yeah.
Or you can watch Halloween, you can watch the 3 sequels, and it feels like you're getting more with the characters you love. Like, I'm getting more Laurie. I'm getting to know her family. I'm getting to know more of Haddonfield as a town. I'm getting a lot of these great characters and moments, and meeting Corey, and you get all these like great little moments that to me makes it a really good trilogy. It's not a great trilogy, but it's a really good trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's solid. It's got really bad stuff, but it's got really cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's why Ends just works for me, I think, better than the rest. Although, like I said, I have to rewatch it just because it just felt so different. And I don't know. It also kind of feels a little more Halloween 3 Season of the Witch than Halloween 3 Season of the Witch does.
That's what I was about to say. You could clearly tell this was inspired by Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And what's great about that is you have two different trilogies that really follow the same formula, but it doesn't feel like it's a carbon copy of each other. Like, David Gordon Green pays respect to the Halloween franchise that he loves, but he makes it his own. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't, but this feels like a trilogy that he wanted to make.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Like, he wasn't forced to do this or, was made by the studio. It was like he wanted to partner up with John Carpenter. And, by the way, the scores in all three of these movies are fantastic. I mean, it's Daniel Davies, John Carpenter, and Cody Carpenter are the three composers. Amazing score work. And it feels like John Carpenter also would approve of the David Gordon Green movies as a continuation of his original. Because he is a producer. You kind of see that him and David Gordon Green kind of worked with each other instead of just working completely separate.
I will say, as far as John Carpenter goes, he's not flawless. He's got a lot of bad movies out there that I haven't seen. I need to actually see his bad ones too. But like, he also made Halloween 2, and he didn't really want to, apparently. He did, and I don't think that movie does 1978 justice. And we should rank the masks at some point. I think that would be fun too.
That would be fun.
Really,
I already know my bottom mask.
Yeah. But him coming on here, because that's kind of the thing about John Carpenter. I've heard he's fine with them making Halloween sequels because it just means more money for him.
Yeah.
So he's like, you guys are gonna do it, so just do it, and it's more money for me. I don't know if he would approve of this trilogy entirely.
Yeah.
Because I think he's probably like me, where he's like just 1978 and the rest can just whatever. But that's the masterpiece. That's the one that
Yeah.
you put up on anyway.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that I'm trying to put words in his mouth or anything. I'm just saying you would think with him being so involved behind the scenes of these movies, like not only is he producer, he's executive producer. He gets script credit as well. I know that. I know he didn't work on the script, but he also did the score. Like, he returned to do the Halloween score and make kind of new music for this trilogy. I don't think he would put his name on the trilogy, or he would do the scores and come back for it if it wasn't something that kind of piqued his interest. You know what I mean? Because he didn't do that for the Rob Zombie movies or anything like that.
And it's just special that they were able to go and get the return of John Carpenter, the return of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, and there's actually a really for Eli Roth's History of Horror. He did
great podcast.
Yeah, well, there's a podcast version of that TV show that has the full interviews. And Jamie Lee Curtis gave one, and she just talked about how David Gordon Green was able to convince her to come back because she was very set on back. She said in Resurrection she made them kill her
at the
character.
very beginning of the movie.
She said, "You can do another movie, but you're going to kill me because I don't want to." But he was able to convince her to come back for this one, and convince John Carpenter. Obviously, this is the first time he's been involved in I think really any substantial way since he did the score for 3.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to say they at least definitely did something interesting with Laurie Strode's character, even if they kind of sidelined her in Kills. But and I also think that what makes this trilogy great is that you can clearly see the love that David Gordon Green has for the entire franchise. And that it wasn't one that he was just, I'm taking Michael Myers and I'm making it my version. He was like, I want to stay true to what Michael Myers was in the original, whereas, you don't know if he's supernatural, you don't know if he's human. He's kind of both, which is the great thing about Halloween, the original, is that you don't know what he is. He could be human, he could be, more than that, but
he took that idea and kind of expanded it upon it. It wasn't something like in Rob Zombies or like any of the sequels where like, you know, the Thorn trilogy, where it's like, this does not feel like Michael Myers. This feels like somebody's interpretation of what Michael Myers is, but not what John Carpenter has done. It seems like he took that idea and was like, okay, how can I expand that? How can I expand the Laurie character? How can I expand Hawkins? I mean, not Hawkins, but Haddonfield. How can I expand all these characters that I grew up loving and kind of want to see more about that? All right, we are an hour and 35 minutes into this podcast. We actually have had a steady stream of people coming in commenting, which is very, very great to see.
We appreciate that. Even if we all don't agree on all of our comments, we appreciate you guys sharing.
Yeah.
And we're in the minority, so it's fine.
Yeah. And that's A-okay with me. Hey, you know, everyone has their own opinions. You come into movies a different way. I saw it one way. You may not see it the other way, but, you know, that's the great thing about movies is that we can all see each other's point of views. Unless you like zombies versions, and then you're just like,
A lot of people do. And, you know,
I know. I'm poking fun.
Well, some people really like the gore and the grit of the movies. It's not my thing, but
if that's your horror is people screaming at each other, that's sure.
Oh, we will definitely talk about that later on. Yeah. That could be a fun, just like roasting podcast one day, just roasting these movies.
It's not like a science theater level, like, let's have fun watching the badness
you can't have fun with these movies.
Fun. Yeah.
This is not Chopping Mall. You can't have fun with this.
Now that's a fun movie.
Yeah, it is. All right. That's where we're going to end it with Chopping Mall. So, Chad and Kerri, where can people find you online?
So Chad and I are doing, starting in September, we started 61 Days of Horror for this year. If you want to check out what we've been watching, I think we're maybe still a little behind because we keep getting busy. It's a busy month for us.
We might be caught up like now or tomorrow.
Okay, well, we might be caught up soon. But you can follow my letterbox at English Slayfest.
And mine is Chadwick Webb. I think there's an underscore in there. And I have my own list. Ours are... they should be the same, but they're not.
Chad is counting a movie that we watched on August 31st.
Deep Red. And it was really good. And I was like, I said as we were watching Deep Red, I was like, we're starting it.
I might have fallen asleep.
Okay. Anyways, it's been a fun time, and it's slowly turned into us just rewatching Halloween movies. But, you know, can you blame us? We're excited after Ends. The other thing that I like to plug is I already plugged at my channel, Chadwick Webb. We do rankings on there. We do a show called You Rankin' with me. And on there, we've done a lot of different stuff. Edgar Wright, Harry Potter, Christmas. We did all 3 phases of the MCU. We're going to do phase 4 after Wakanda Forever drops. We're very excited about that. We're probably going to throw the TV shows in there as well. And have some fun with that. I also on the Dill Pickle Movie Network, my buddy Dylan has a lot of different stuff that he does, drafting movies. He has a whole MCU trivia league and just talking MCU all the time. But another thing he does is with me, we have a show called Picture This, where every month we do a year of the Oscars, where we look at the best pictures of the year. We watch the movies, we rank them, we talk about them, we talk about the year, the Oscar ceremony. We talk about the actors and actresses from those movies, and we just have a really good time. This month, I can't remember if it's already dropped, but we did 1991 in honor of The Silence of the Lambs, because it's the most winningest horror movie ever, and it's a phenomenal movie. And next month, we're doing 2009 in honor of Avatar 2, The Way of Water. I think that's what it's called. Or Avatar, The Way of Water. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but in honor of that, we're doing that because Avatar was nominated. It did not win, but it was nominated. And we're going to see where does that rank amongst all the other movies. There's a lot of movies in that slate, but we're very excited to do that year. And but this was fun discussion. Thanks, Hunter. This was great.
Yeah, This was indeed very fun. I cannot wait to come on for the Halloween ranking. That's going to be fun. A lot of different opinions. A lot of different opinions on that one. Guys, also go check out my TikTok, Nerd Entertainment 98. I just posted a review for Halloween Ends, which now has 168 views, so let's go. That's awesome. I have one for Hellraiser 2022, the original Halloween, and then just some of me having fun. So I will be doing Chopping Mall next as my It Came From Shudder review, so that's going to be fun. I can't wait to rewatch that tonight. But yeah, guys, if you did enjoy this, hit the like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys soon.